Hello friends, welcome to another tutorial from Brains Gossip, and in today's tutorial we want to learn about application of Gauss's theorem. So the first video and the second video was about the theorem and the proof of Gauss's theorem, and here we are going to apply Gauss's theorem and we are going to find out the electric field at different position for different kind of charge distribution. Now when you were learning Gauss's theorem, there may be a question that came in our mind that why we are learning Gauss's theorem, what is the purpose of that? The purpose of Gauss's theorem is to find out the electric field at different position for different kind of charge distribution. So in today's tutorial we are going to do that exactly. So first we are going to start with electric field at an infinite line charge distribution. So let us consider there is a infinite line charge distribution. Now please try to understand the meaning of infinite line charge distribution. Here there is a line and we have placed charge particles on it. And what is the length of this line? The length of this line charge is infinite. The length of this line is infinite. In upper place also it is infinite, in lower place also it is infinite. Now what we are going to do over here? We are going to find out the electric field at a distance r from this line. So let's just do that. To do this, we have to consider a Gaussian surface. Now in the second video we already learned what are the properties of Gaussian surface, and one of them was it should be a closed surface. Now here we are considering a cylinder that is coaxial with the line, that means the axis of the cylinder is the line what we have considered. Now the cylinder have three different surfaces. Number one is the top of the cylinder, number two is the bottom of the cylinder, and number three is the curved surface around the axis. Now in order to understand what will be the electric flux coming out of this Gaussian surface, we need to consider elementary area. Now here dA is the elementary area, and in the curved surface if we take dA, then what is the direction of the dA? Direction of the dA is the perpendicular, which is in the radial direction of this axis. Now here also we can see the electric field also in the radially outward. So what is the angle between dA and E? So here cos theta, where theta is the angle, rather we make it theta 1, where cos theta 1 is the angle between dA and E. So here it is cos 0 degree. Why it is 0 degree? Because the direction of the dA and the direction of the E is in the same direction, which is in the radially outward direction. So the direction of the dA and E is same, but here in the plane surface which is in the top of the cylinder, here we get to see that it is 90 degree, that is pi by 2. So cos theta 2, here theta 2 is 90 degree, so it is cos pi by 2. Now what is the value of cos 0? That is 1. And what is the value of cos pi by 2? That is 0. So if we try to calculate d phi 1, that is the elementary flux for this elementary area dA, for this part it will be E dot dA. Both of them are vector quantities. Now we can write E dA cos theta 1, and what is the value of theta 1? That is 1. So we can write E dA. Now in the second case d phi 2, that is for the upper portion, that is for the plane portion, top portion, we can write E dot dA, and here we will write E dA cos theta 2, and cos theta 2 equal to 0, so here it comes 0. So we don't have to consider the upper and the lower portion of the cylinder in order to calculate the total flux, we will only consider this curved surface. Okay. So let us just calculate the total flux around this curved surface. So in order to calculate this total flux, we have to integrate the total flux. So total flux is phi, that is equal to integration of d phi, and that is equal to integration of E dA. Okay. Now as we know from the charge distribution, it have a cylindrical symmetry. The charge distribution have a cylindrical symmetry. All the electric fields are radially outward. So that is why we can take E outside of the integration, as E is constant everywhere because we have a cylindrical symmetry. That is why we can write dA. Now, do you know what is the area of the cylinder? If we consider the curved surface only, it is the circumference into the length, and the length of the cylinder we have considered L. So we can write this is equal to E into 2 pi r into L, that is the area of the curved surface of the cylinder. Now according to Gauss's theorem, this total flux must be equal to the total charge enclosed by the curved surface by epsilon naught. Now we have to find out what is the total charge enclosed by this curved surface. To understand that, we have to consider the charge per unit length factor, that is line charge density. Now what is line charge density? Line charge density is lambda, that is equal to total charge, that is Q by length. So we can write Q equal to lambda L. Now we will apply this in our Gauss's theorem. So according to Gauss's theorem, this total flux phi equal to total charge by epsilon naught. That is all we know. Now what is phi? Phi equal to, let's just erase it, phi equal to, that is our phi. So phi equal to E into 2 pi r into L equal to total charge, that is L lambda by epsilon naught. So E equal to L lambda by 2 pi r L epsilon naught. Now L cancel each other. So what we can write? Lambda by 2 pi epsilon naught r. So this is what we get for a charge distribution which is in a line, and at a distance r the electric field will be like this. Understood? Now let us just quickly draw a graphical representation of this E versus R. So if this axis represents the R, that is the distance from this axis, and this axis represent the electric field, then what we can write? The nature of the curve will be like this. So far we go, the electric field will be decreasing because of the increase in the radius, that means the R from the axis. So here we get E proportional to 1 by R. So that is the proportionality of the E versus R. Okay. Now we will quickly move on and try to find out what will be the electric field for a infinite sheet or infinite plane. Okay. So let us just try to find out the second part. Now in order to understand what will be the electric field due to an infinite plane sheet of charge, first we have to understand what is the meaning of infinite plane sheet of charge. Please try to understand. We have a plain paper in our hand, and if we place some charge on this plain paper and the area of this plain paper is infinite, we may consider this charge distribution to be a infinite plane sheet of charge. Now our target is to find out what will be the electric field at a point near to this plane sheet. Okay, this is a plane sheet. So we want to calculate, we want to find out the electric field at a point near to this plane sheet of charge. So let us just do that by considering a Gaussian surface, which is also a cylinder over here. Now this cylinder is actually penetrating the plane sheet. Half part of the cylinder is in the right and half part of the cylinder is in the left. Now what is our target? Our target is to find out the flux for this Gaussian surface. We will take A1, that is this area, and A2, that is this area, but will not take the flux for the curved surface. Why? Because the direction of the area vector is radially outward and direction of the electric field towards the axis, and they are actually perpendicular to each other. So we don't have to consider the flux for this curved surface. We will take electric field only for the upper and the lower portion, that is A1 and A2. Now electric flux for this A1 is integration over E dot dA, and for this portion A2, integration over A2 E dot dA. That is quite simple, that is quite obvious. Now E and dA are vector quantities, so we have to find out the scalar component of area vector, and here the angle between E vector and A vector, that is dA, are 0 because both of them are in the same direction. So cos theta equal to 1, so we can write E dot A equal to E dA. Now we can write electric flux phi E equal to integration over E1 E dot dA plus integration over A2. Okay, so this is equal to EA and this is also equal to EA, where A is the amount of area. As it's a cylinder, so this area equal to this area, so that is why I have written A only. So that is equal to twice EA. I hope this is clear. Now according to Gauss's theorem, this twice EA equal to the total charge enclosed by this surface, Gaussian surface. So let us quickly try to find out what will be the charge enclosed by this Gaussian surface. If surface charge density is sigma, that is equal to total charge Q by area. Okay, that is the definition of charge density, surface charge density, Q by area. So Q equal to sigma A. Okay, so what we can write, total electric flux phi E equal to total charge by epsilon naught, that is according to Gauss's theorem. Okay, this is according to Gauss's theorem. Okay, now let us just quickly put all this. Phi E, we have got this, Q equal to, we have got sigma by A, sigma A. So let us just quickly write all this. So what we can get, that twice EA equal to sigma A by epsilon naught. A cancel each other and we conclude that E equal to sigma by twice epsilon naught. So this is what we get for a infinite plane sheet of charge. So I hope you have understood the second part. Now we are moving on to the third part, where we are going to calculate the electric field for a spherical distribution of charge. Now we want to figure out what will be the electric field due to uniformly charged spherical cell. Now what is happening over there? Here we have taken a spherical cell and the radius of the cell is r. And do you know what is the meaning of cell? Cell means the inside of the sphere is vacuum. There is nothing inside the cell. Now we want to calculate the electric field due to a outer portion or external portion of this cell, that is this point P. So here the center is O, the radius of the cell is R, and we want to calculate the electric field at a point P which is at a distance small r from this origin O. In order to do this, here also we have to take a elementary area dA. So dA is our elementary area. Okay. Now let us just quickly calculate the flux for this elementary area, that is d phi. So d phi equal to E dot dA, where E and dA both are vector quantity. Now here comes a question, what is the direction between this electric field vector and area vector? Here you see both are radially outward. Electric field have a radial distribution, that is spherical distribution, so electric field is radially outward, and the area vector which is also radially outward. So we can write E dA cos theta, so we can write E dA, that is equal to d phi. Now total flux phi equal to integration over d phi equal to E dA. Now as I said, this electric field have a spherical symmetry, and due to the spherical symmetry we can take this electric field out of this integration. So what we can write, E integration dA. So here comes the question, what is the total area of this Gaussian surface? The total area of this Gaussian surface is 4 pi r square. So we can write this is equal to E into 4 pi r square, where small r is the radius of this Gaussian surface that we have imagined. And obviously this Gaussian surface is closed surface, so every properties of the Gaussian surface satisfied over here. Now here we apply Gauss's theorem in order to find out the electric field E. Okay. Now according to Gauss's theorem, total flux phi E equal to total charge enclosed by the surface by epsilon naught. So if the total charge of the sphere is Q, then phi E equal to Q by epsilon naught. Now we can write E multiplied with 4 pi r square Q by epsilon naught. So then we can write electric field E equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by r square. So this expression is quite interesting, because now let's just apply Coulomb's law and consider a point charge Q, and we want to find out the electric field at a distance r. So here also electric field will be at distance r will be 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by r square. So this is the conclusion of this discussion, that if we see a charge, amount of charge outside the sphere, so with respect to a point which is outside the sphere, spherical cell, it doesn't matter what is the radius of the cell. For as a point of view, in the point of view of this point P, the total charge is just a point. I can consider the total charge to be a point instead of a spherical cell of radius capital R. So this is quite interesting from this discussion. Now we want to calculate what will be the electric field for an inner point which is inside the spherical cell. So let us just quickly calculate this. In order to do this, here also we will take a cell which is inside the spherical cell. So this is a Gaussian surface which is in the form of spherical cell. Now the radius of the sphere is small r, which is inside the spherical charge distribution, that is total charge is q on this sphere. Now on the Gaussian surface, that is represented by the dotted line, we take one small area, that is dA. Here this is also elementary area, and here also d phi equal to E dot dA, and similarly it will become E dA. Now let us just calculate the total flux phi, that is equal to integration d phi, that is equal to integration of E dA closed surface integration, and that will become E 4 pi r square. We have just done this. This is quite similar, but what will be the difference? The difference will be the charge enclosed by this Gaussian surface. Now as you can see, the total charge q is outside the sphere, it is not inside the sphere. So from the point of view of this Gaussian surface which is inside the spherical cell, no charge is enclosed by this Gaussian surface. So what we can write, phi equal to 0 by epsilon naught, because no charge is present in the Gaussian surface. So we can write 4 pi r square E equal to 0 by epsilon naught. So that will become to be E equal to 0. So what does it mean? It means that inside the spherical cell there is no electric field, and that is quite obvious that inside any kind of conductor or inside any kind of spherical cell we cannot see any kind of electric field. So this was the application of Gauss's theorem. We have already discussed 3 cases. There are also more cases, like what will be electric field near a conductor, what will be the electric field between two plane charge distribution. So there are ample amount of cases. You solve this application by your own. If you are facing any difficulties, please let me know in the comment box. So in the next video we will move on to our next chapter, and we will start our brand new chapter, that is electric potential. So bye bye till now, take care, stay safe and study well.